People often think acceptance and boundaries are opposites. They think I either accept this person or I set boundaries with them. But that's not how it works. I think of it like this. Acceptance means I don't try to change who you are. Boundaries are about what I will tolerate. In fact, acceptance is often what makes healthy boundaries possible. When we accept people, we stop trying to change them. When we have healthy boundaries, we've come to understand that the person we get to change is us. Hi, I'm Barb Nangle, and I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented, emotionally overwhelmed, stuck in people-pleasing, approval-seeking, overthinking, or losing yourself in relationships, you're in the right place. This podcast is about recovery for real life. Through honest stories, practical tools, and lessons I've learned through 12-Step Recovery, boundaries work, and over 4 decades of personal growth, we explore what it actually takes to stop abandoning yourself and build a life that feels more authentic, grounded, and whole. We'll talk about things like boundaries, shame, family dysfunction, reparenting, emotional regulation, self-trust, recovery, and creating internal safety so you can stay connected to yourself even when life gets hard. I'm a boundaries coach, speaker, author, and woman in recovery, and my approach is raw, honest, practical, and sometimes a little bit, a lot, sweary. I'm also an avid beachcomber. My hands are basically always cold, so I wear fingerless gloves most of the year. And I still get weirdly excited when I spot license plates with my initials BN. I don't speak for or represent any particular 12-step fellowship, though I'm deeply grateful for the role recovery has played in my life. If you're ready for real talk, emotional healing, and practical tools to help you go from fragmented to whole, keep listening. This is episode 358, How to Understand the Difference Between Acceptance and Boundaries. Have you ever wondered what the difference is between acceptance and boundaries? It's a question I've been asked from time to time over the years, and it's something I've been thinking about for a very long time. In fact, the topic came up recently during a conversation in the Wholeness Haven. In case you don't know about it, the Wholeness Haven is my twice monthly coaching group for women, and anybody can join. Go to higherpowercc.com/haven. Anyway, one of the members was talking about her relationship with her father and how she had come to accept that he simply wasn't capable of meeting her emotionally in the ways that she wished he could. She said, I basically know he can only go so deep. As we talked, I realized that what she was describing was something many people struggle to understand. People often think acceptance and boundaries are opposites. They think I either accept this person or I set boundaries with them. But that's not how it works. I think of it like this. Acceptance means I don't try to change who you are. Boundaries are about what I will tolerate. In fact, acceptance is often what makes healthy boundaries possible. When we accept people, we stop trying to change them. When we have healthy boundaries, we've come to understand that the person we get to change is us. Many people believe they have 2 choices. They can accept someone's behavior and continue tolerating it, or they can set a boundary and somehow get the person to change. But that's not how boundaries work. Boundaries aren't about changing other people. They're about deciding what works for you. Often changing yourself and how you're engaging with others, given who they are. Acceptance isn't about approving of someone else's behavior. It's about seeing reality clearly. One way to think about it is this. Acceptance answers the question, who is this person really? Boundaries answer the question, given who this person is, what works for me? So acceptance is about facing reality, and boundaries are about your response given that reality. So let me give you a few examples. Maybe you have a friend who consistently shows up late. Acceptance says this person is frequently late. That's who they are. Boundaries say, given that reality, I'm not going to schedule something important that depends on them arriving on time. Or maybe you have a family member who gives unsolicited advice every time you share something personal. Acceptance says, this person likes to give advice, but that's what they do. Boundaries say, given that reality, I'm going to be selective about what I share with them. Now, boundaries may also be you saying things to them like, I'm not actually looking for advice. I'm just sharing what's going on. But if you say something like that, especially if you said it a number of times, and they continue with the advice, then it's time to change what you share with them because you accept they're not capable of stopping the unsolicited advice. Maybe you have someone in your life who's emotionally unavailable. Acceptance says this person isn't capable of offering the level of emotional connection I want. Boundaries say, given that reality, I'm not going to keep going to them for something they can't provide. This is where that often told saying in recovery comes from. Don't go to the hardware store for milk. Notice that none of these boundaries require the other person to change. The boundary comes from accepting reality rather than arguing with it. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. What often gets called acceptance is actually resignation. So someone says something like, I guess I just have to accept it. But what they really mean is, I don't know what else to do. Or why aren't they changing? Or I don't know how to protect myself. Or I don't know how to stop hoping they'll become someone different. That's not acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean you like it or you approve of it or think it's fair. It doesn't mean you stop having feelings about it. It simply means you're willing to acknowledge reality as it is. And here's what I've noticed. When people genuinely accept reality, boundaries often become much clearer because you know what you're dealing with. Once you stop spending your energy wishing someone were different or trying to get them to be different, you can start asking yourself questions like, what do I need? What works for me and what doesn't? What am I willing to participate in and what am I no longer willing to participate in? So acceptance helps you see reality and boundaries help you respond to that reality. I also think this conversation, sorry about all my bumbling words today. I also think this conversation connects deeply to the idea of internal safety. One of the reasons people resist acceptance is because reality can be painful and we act like I don't have the internal safety to deal with that pain. So maybe accepting reality means acknowledging that your parent will never become the nurturing person you've always wanted them to be. Maybe it means accepting that a friendship isn't as reciprocal as you'd hoped. Maybe it means accepting that a partner can't meet a particular emotional need. Those realities can bring up grief, disappointment, sadness, loss. And if we don't feel safe enough internally to experience those emotions, we often keep trying to change reality instead. So we keep hoping, explaining, persuading, and trying to get people to become who we need them to be. And not because we've done something wrong, but because accepting reality feels painful. Sometimes continuing to hope feels easier than grieving. But acceptance isn't about giving up. It means we stop fighting against reality. It's saying, this is who this person is. This is what they're capable of and what they're not capable of. You can't turn someone into someone they're not. It just doesn't work that way. You can't turn your friend who's always late into someone who arrives on time. It doesn't matter how much you contort yourself, how many conversations you have with them. You can't turn your relative who gives unsolicited advice to someone who is a good listener and keeps their mouth shut after they hear you out. You can't turn your emotionally unavailable partner into an emotionally available person. Now, what do I want to do once I accept that? And that's where boundaries come in. The way I think about it is this: I can accept people exactly as they are without giving them unlimited access to me. I can accept, for example, that someone is selfish and unreliable and then not lend them money. I can accept that this person gossips and then not share private information with them. I can accept that someone is emotionally unavailable and not seek emotional intimacy from them. So acceptance doesn't eliminate the need for boundaries. Acceptance often reveals the need for boundaries. And if you've ever wondered whether you're supposed to choose between acceptance and boundaries, that's not the right question. The better question might be, what reality am I struggling to accept? And once I accept it, what boundary does that reality invite me to set? And speaking of that, one of my earliest and most popular episodes is on acceptance. I will put a link to that in the show notes. So acceptance asks, who is this person? And boundaries ask, given who this person is, what do I need? And when those two things work together, you stop trying to force reality to be different and start creating relationships that honor both the truth of who other people are and the truth of who you are and what's okay and not okay with you, and then what you will do given your preferences. So when we're thinking about acceptance and boundaries, remember, the goal isn't distance from people. The goal is closeness without self-abandonment. Look, understanding boundaries is one thing. Living them is another. That's why I'm opening enrollment for the Workplace Boundaries Podcast Integration Circle beginning July 1. Together, we'll explore self-abandonment, people-pleasing, victim thinking, burnout, and sustainable success through carefully selected podcast episodes, reflection prompts, and weekly live discussions. Visit higherpowercc.com/integration-circle to reserve your spot.